What radio? The music you want.
Don't tell me you've never heard of me. The world's biggest windbag?
With your host, Keys Dan.
God, I love my work.
RadioWhat.com. What's up, party people? It's Keys Dan with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live and in living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Famous? It's just an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio that I've been running for quite some time. And you can follow that RadioWhat.com on Twitter at RadioWhatTwit. I guess it's a good follow. And if you need DJ services, please head over to DJLittleRock.com or KeysDan.com. It's pretty much the same thing. And you can, DJLittleRock.com, you can check availability, get a price quote, and maybe you can hire little old me to be a part of your event. And it's wedding season. You know I likes the weddings. They're starting to get booked up. Oh, my goodness. I'm getting to do lots and lots of weddings. And I did an event yesterday at Brookside Fiesta, helping out some people that have been displaced. And it gave me such a good feeling, you know, to help people in the community. So even those events, those are great. And of course, my karaoke shows, I dig those. Karaoke. This week I have karaoke on Thursday and Friday over at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas. That's on Thursday it starts at 7 p.m. and that's Thursday the 30th, May 30th at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas. It's Theme Thursday, so I don't even know what the theme is. I haven't quite thought about it, picked it out. I know we've done reggae and blues and 80s and just turn of the century, newer stuff. Hair bands. So we'll see what happens. And then the 31st, May 31st, that's Friday. That's the regular karaoke show at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas. And I'm looking forward to that, as I do every Friday. Full bar, kitchen is open, pool tables, the dance floor is big. The stage is yours. You're the star of the show Thursday and Friday at the Rab. And then on the 1st, oh yeah, I have a wedding. You know I like weddings. I'll be down in Maumelle, Arkansas for a wedding. Yeah. Today on the program, I got Brandon Shields. Brandon Shields, he's got his own podcast called The Web Project. You want to check that out. He's got about 15 episodes out right now. Very informative stuff that he kind of he's learned over his 21 years of life, and he likes to just like me. I like to learn things on my podcast. He likes to learn things on his podcast, and while he's learning, you're learning. That's right. That's what podcasts are. It's a radio show. It's a little conversation where you get to listen in on a chit chat and be quiet because we're talking here. Okay, shush. Just do your little exercise. Just run around the block. Do your little typing on your computer there at work. Have your lunch or your dinner, whatever you're doing while you're listening to this podcast. You know, me and Brandon Shields, we're going to kick it for a little bit and talk about things. So let's get into it. Brandon Shields. Calling Brandon Shields now.
Hello?
Mr. Shields, please.
Yes, this is him.
Hi, it's Keys Dan from the What Makes You Famous podcast. How you doing today?
Doing good. How are you?
Super duper. Now, say your name for the people.
Brandon Shields.
Brandon Shields. Very good. I was trying to look you up on the Facebook to get an eye-to-eye perspective of who you are. And I know I've listened to your 15 podcast, The Web Project, and they're pretty informative, you know, and I just wanted to know a little bit more about Brandon Shields. So, yeah. Go ahead. Tell me a little bit more. Start with how was your day? What did you do today?
Oh, so far today, I'm actually doing a lot of transitional stuff. I'm actually going to be moving to South Florida. I have a digital agency, so today a lot of fun random stuff, going through the motions type stuff. So very boring type of Sunday, but, just another day in the life.
Not that boring. I'm from Miami and the Florida Keys, which is where Keys Dan came from. So whereabouts in South Florida are you heading?
Actually, over there right by Boca. So, yeah.
Boca Raton. I've chewed a lot of dirt there. I've done a lot of weddings, DJ'd a lot of weddings in Boca Raton. Great place. Are you getting close to the water? I mean, I know Boca is never more than 20 minutes away from the water.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to be like, right across the street. So it's really right across the street from the ocean. So
I like
really
right across the street. Where are you at now?
Actually, I'm in Alabama, Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Actually.
Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I remember hearing that in there in one of your podcasts, the one that you had an interview, and you were mentioning that you were in Tuscaloosa. And that's how is it? Did you grow up in Alabama?
All 21 years of my life, I've been in the same spot.
Wow. Okay, that's yeah. It's time for a change. It's time for a move. You're a young man of the world. It's time to get out of there. Alabama. So, how was it growing up in Alabama?
Oh, well, not being able to compare it to much other stuff rather than traveling outside of the state. Not too exciting, but it's very, very slow type of movement. Not like a New York or a California, obviously. So there's a lot less movement here when it comes to life. It's not fast, it's very simple, but I mean, I'm in a part of Alabama, Tuscaloosa, that not the worst part where there's actually society here. It's not like in the boondocks. There is a little society here in Tuscaloosa rather than just like in the middle of the woods, but a lot less simpler than a lot of other parts.
Yeah, Tuscaloosa sounds like one of the bigger cities in Alabama, and I guess I'm thinking of Talladega. Alabama has a love for racing and football, right? The college football is big time. Any other activities that you enjoy doing in Alabama?
Well, yeah, one of the things, with Talladega is 3 hours away. There's huge thing of racing there. Tuscaloosa is actually home of the University of Alabama, which is it's a very prestigious university when it ranks up in the amount of colleges in the United States. The football thing is huge here. Of course, if you guys have heard of Alabama, we've won a lot of national championships. That's why we're on the map at all for Tuscaloosa. But I would say the biggest things that you can really, do here is very outdoor type ways, but not in like the outdoors of like mountains or like oceans, but really there's a lot of national forests here. There's a huge lake called Lake Tuscaloosa. There's other huge lakes in Alabama. So there's a lot of like the, I guess you would say like the camping / hiking, outdoor type of activities that you can go through here.
So did you grow up enjoying any of these outdoor activities?
Oh yeah, definitely. Going fishing, going to the lake, swimming, hiking, all those types of things are always fun.
Well, freshwater fishing is a whole lot different than saltwater fishing. I know I grew up in the Florida Keys in South Florida, and I did a lot of saltwater fishing. And I think you're going to enjoy that if you do like fishing. What kind of fishing did you do in Tuscaloosa? Did you do a lot of that as a kid? Yeah,
definitely freshwater fishing, like a largemouth bass, crappie, catfish. I did go to the Gulf of Mexico. I went to the Gulf several times. Yeah. As a kid, and going to do saltwater fishing out, a few miles out into the Gulf, and a whole different experience. It's way more, I would say, at ease, calming, like when you do it in freshwater, rather than you have to be first of all you have to be very alert. Obviously, if you're out in the water in the Gulf or anywhere actually where that's it's actually a lot more at stake if something were to go wrong. So. It's a whole another concept, right?
From what I understand, getting up on a boat with my grandfather and with my my mother and my family, we'd get on a boat in the saltwater, go out a few miles and into my grandfather's favorite fishing hole, which I think was a bunch of hooey. It was always just, hey, let's drop anchor here. This is my favorite hole. How do you know the fish are going to be in that particular place at that particular time. This is probably before there's good sonar sensing of that nature. But yeah, we would sit there. We'd put out, each one of us would put out a poll. So maybe if there's 4 people on the boat, we put a poll out and then have a sandwich and chit chat pretty much. And then if there's a bite, you go for it. And it seemed like that was a little easier than when I went freshwater fishing. Freshwater seemed like it was a lot of work because you had to cast and bring it back, and cast and bring it back, and cast and bring it back. And you may or may not get a fish, but it seemed like it was more work than saltwater in comparison to the two. And I know this is not the fishing podcast, but in comparison to the two, just to drive the point home, which one did you prefer, the freshwater fishing or the saltwater, or is there a comparison to either?
I mean, they both have their wins and their losses. I would say you did make I do get what you're saying when it comes to there is more work in the front side of things. I guess it just depends on the day. If it's a type of, it's a really, hot day and you just want to be out in the water, I would definitely go saltwater. But if it was like a cooler type day to where it was, more where the environment's more relaxing for the freshwater type thing, definitely go freshwater.
Very cool. Well, thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. We're heading in that direction. Okay, so other than fishing, what other activities did you do outside in the Tuscaloosa, Alabama area? And yeah, I'm saying Alabama like I'm a Warner Brothers cartoon. Alabama.
Yeah. So I did play football, and that was fun. Little sports here and there, soccer, and doing a lot of things like that. I always had a mix though of outdoors and indoor activities. Right now I'm actually very immersed into the digital space of doing all my fun stuff, and that's because I actually loved being on the computer. I actually adored video games and doing all that stuff before in my childhood as well. So there's always a mix of both for what I had.
What was your video game console of choice growing up? I guess you're a young man of the world. Growing up in the 2000s would be your era. What was your video game console of choice?
Started off in the Nintendo 64, moved from there to a PlayStation, moved from the PlayStation to the Xbox to Xbox 360, and so on.
Excellent. You still playing games now?
Every once in a while when I catch a break, I'll just, play a little Madden or something like that, yeah.
It's going to get harder and harder to do the older you get. I'm looking at let's see what I got in front of me. I got a PS4, PS3, a Wii U, a Nintendo Switch, a Nintendo knockoff that has, 600 games on it, and a PS Vita. And how often do I get to play them? Well, not very often. Sadly, because every time I get a free space, some free time, I fill it with something else. Something else I'd like to do, like starting a podcast and chatting with interesting people, like Brandon Shields of the Web Project. He's got his own podcast. How about that? So you're into the media stuff. What is Titletown Media?
Right. So Titletown Media, that was actually, I'm going through a rebranding process on that right now, so I need to update that. But actually, that was a digital agency that I used for actually helping people convert customers online and build their brand through Instagram and Facebook. So what it really is kind of like it's a company that what you do is I evaluate your social media platforms. I figure out the best strategy moving forward to optimize and convert customers, and then I use ad dollars to spend on Facebook and Instagram to actually bring customers in and have a lifetime value that is worth a lot more than just doing traditional advertising.
Pretty cool. Well, I'm looking at your Facebook picture because, I'm a stalker, and that's what you do these days. Yeah. Whenever you meet somebody new, you go straight to their Facebook, their Instagram, their social media, try to find them online. And I see your Facebook profile pic is you in front of a whiteboard with a bunch of messages. I mean, it looks like info jotted down on it. You're working on things, and this is something, since I'm not a Facebook friend, I think this is one. It's one from 2018, so I guess that's the public image that you've put out. And yeah, is that what you do? You kind of work. Do you work on paper? Or do you work on a whiteboard, or do you work on computers more?
Well, it all depends. I always loved whiteboards. Visual, having the, I guess, writing it down on a visual concept is always better for me because I feel like if you type things, it's not like, because always being creative when it comes to doing stuff in types of ways. So if I were to type it out on like a Word document versus write it out, it just flows more, and it makes the momentum of flowing just feel so much better because, you can have a creative block if you're trying to come up with new concepts and ideas and stuff. But I feel like when you're able to have like, a pen, a pencil, a marker, you're able to actually expand, how you're actually doing the thing rather than just, on a one type of way, a system where like typing or adding images. So yeah, definitely. But I do use, I use the computer obviously, but I always love whiteboards just because of visual concepts.
No, I would have to tend to agree. When I write things down, I seem to remember them better than if I try to. Well, even typing is not quite as tactile and personal as writing it down. And if I just hear it, yeah, the chances I'm going to remember it, not too great. I have to see it. I have to write it. I have to make a mnemonic about it. And yeah, maybe then I'll remember your name, Brandon Shields. And I will because I've seen it and I've written it down. And we're chit-chatting. We're having a conversation with Brandon Shields, media mogul. Heading that way, right?
Definitely. That's the goal. That's the dream.
So what got you into it? Will mom and dad have anything to do with that? What did mom and dad do? Actually,
in a sense, indirectly, yes, and directly, definitely no. So actually, I did not even, I was finding myself, I've been graduated from high school for now 4 years now, and since then I was at that point, I was actually trying to go into the medical field. I was actually, going to go to university, and from there, actually have a degree and go into orthopedic surgery. I know I was, wanted to hit a high note, but doing so in the medical field of orthopedics. So about 2 years into college, I was kind of stuck in a rut when it comes to the fun in it, because first off, when you dive deep into something, the only reason you want to continue to do it is if it's worth your while and it's exciting to you. So 2 years into college doing the medical stuff, I was at a point to where I was like, wow, this is not fulfilling. This isn't making sense. So I kind of just went through a lot of exploring periods and testing and experimenting, and got me online, got me looking at a lot of entrepreneurs in the digital space. And from there, actually, I was like, wow, this is more exciting to me. Business is exciting to me. Entrepreneurship, digital marketing, et cetera, et cetera. So from there, I actually, visited doing a lot of different testing on doing small bits of here and there on digital marketing. With my parents, that's kind of like flip-flop mentality just right off the bat. So at first, they were kind of confused what I'm doing. Wait, am I wasting my time doing this? But once the results started coming up, of course, that cleared the conscience there. But both my parents have kind of had the same type of momentum throughout their life of doing. At the beginning, that I believe they both actually held jobs, 9 to 5s, doing all that, which I definitely respect 100,000%. And then, of course, they have entrepreneurial tendencies themselves. My dad's owned many businesses throughout his years, and my mom actually owns a salon. So doing a lot of things through that, they've actually, I guess subconsciously embedded a little bit of entrepreneurial tendencies into me. So the support's always been there, so that's a great thing.
Yeah. How did you even get an inkling or a desire to go to orthopedic surgery? Anybody in the family in medicine?
I don't. No, I recall, no. I think I was just kind of like one of those things where you look at like the prestigious jobs you can have,
right?
Going to high school and stuff, and you're like, oh, and you point to something, and then you just get wrapped up into it. So I think that's more how I ended up in that way.
Yeah, I've had many Joe jobs throughout my life. Started in radio, and then I became a firefighter and a paramedic, and did that for a while. But I was always in radio, and I always DJ'd. So, yeah, and school was something that it didn't stick very well. I went to school just enough to become a firefighter, just enough to become a radio broadcaster, just enough to become a paramedic, but I really didn't press on. So to become an orthopedic surgeon, I couldn't see it. But did you end up getting any school for business? Did you end up finishing up anything for business degrees or anything?
So actually, once I had the clear concept in 2017, I think it was August 2017, I kind of made up my mind that actually marketing and digital business and all this stuff, the necessity to do what I wanted to do did not require a degree, and I felt like it would have been a distraction to continue. So what I actually did, I only had a couple credits left on my associate's degree to go, and what I did is I went to the elective section of the degree itself, and I saw what I could complete to get the credits and all that stuff, and I actually enacted putting graphic design and stuff that actually would put more momentum into the new field I was going into. So what I did is I finished up my degree in 2017.
Hooray!
Doing that, and I actually didn't. Yeah, that was a little bit of the drag at the beginning where it comes to the confusion of my family and stuff like, wait, what are you doing? Because you're not going to university now. You're not doing this and that. But it was because really the requirements to, and that's a huge concept. I do debate this back and forth with people of the necessity of doing certain things like going to college. It's a great experience if you're in the deciding factors and you're not determined to understand exactly what you need to do yet. It's a great networking field. It's a great for STEM jobs. It's a lot of jobs actually require a college, and it makes sense to do it. But just for my sake, it just did not make sense.
Absolutely. Radio broadcasting. Yeah, you could take a course and learn how to do a little radio and record things, but mostly it's school of life. And I suspect with the web designing and the web media, I guess explain a little bit. Okay, so Titletown is dying and it's being rebranded into what?
Right. Yeah. Actually, with that, I actually left Titletown Media to my business partner, and I actually explored a better option, which was going to go in with another business partner. Now, this company that we're actually doing is called Tanner Consulting. Tanner Consulting is a great media platform where we actually do two types of things: the traditional digital advertising, like I spoke of with Titletown Media, and on top of that is the consulting side of things, where we actually do a lot of knowledge transfers for big businesses in the franchise world, real estate world, etc., where we actually help them understand the concepts, fundamentals, and strategies to increase their dollars that are coming in, and help expenditures and other fun things. But yeah, so that's kind of like the transition on that company itself.
That sounded very technical to me. Is there a laundry list of services that you offer to the people to help them with their businesses? I guess maybe that would help me to understand a little bit more about what you do, Brandon Shields.
Yeah, so doing things like Instagram, like the very smallest things that we do, like Instagram growth and branding, where we actually help your profiles on Instagram grow to an audience that you actually feel relevant. Now, upon that, we actually do Facebook advertising, which are, like scrolling through Facebook, you see ads. We actually create those ads, target the customers, get those customers to do, a call of action, which is, either purchase, coming to the door, client being in some field or anything like that. We do a lot of design things like that. We do, web page building, websites, full-on click funnels, which are like pretty much advertising infomercial type sites that you'll see. Doing a lot of graphic design on some parts to help people with their social. For example, like we do, like for franchisees in the restaurant world, if they need help with like menu design, they need help with other types of graphics. Well, we have that covered. And the goal with that company is to actually be able to cover any digital means necessary for a business and types of marketing and branding, sales, advertising, all that. So where this company is a one-stop shop for all that type of stuff.
Well, a lot of businesses don't have time to do all that, and I'm glad they have you, Brandon Shields. And what was the name of your company once again?
Yeah, the company is called Tanner Consulting.
Tanner Consulting. So I'm guessing Tanner is the partner.
Yes, definitely.
So,
Matt Tanner.
All right, yeah. Matt Tanner. Fantastic. Now, you say you played football in high school, and that's a pretty physical activity. Are you a physical guy? Do you still stay in shape?
Oh yeah, definitely. Actually, what I try to do is, watch, because what I do, first off, what I try to do is at least be able to work 10 to 12 hours a day, bare minimum, and being able to do that takes a lot of time to square up energy. So when you need energy, of course, you need to put in a routine. So exercise is definitely one of the best things to do to accompany that. Cardio and strength exercises are very important. And then, of course, with the diet, you're, actually implementing different types of things that are healthy, like, vegetables and lean protein, etc., are really huge parts. And now that's one of my favorite reasons that I'll go into South Florida is because the outdoors will definitely do well for doing those types of activities.
Oh yeah, running on the beach will tear it right off of you.
Yeah.
And I know I used to run in the streets, and running in the streets was okay, and that tore a lot of weight off of me. But then as soon as you run on the beach, just the beating of your feet in the sand, and it is quite a workout and a different story altogether. What's your workout routine like on a weekly basis?
Well, what I typically try to do is a little bit of cardio to begin to warm up, and then go into a strength exercise. Do probably 3 to 5 sets of heavy weight, and then move into doing light cardio afterwards. So I take right now on my routine, it's very low maintenance, which is a good thing for me because of my transitioning stage of how I'm going into it. But what I plan to do, which will actually be more normal, will actually be going into doing cardio, then actually doing more like 10 to 12 sets of heavy weight, and then actually having full days of like calisthenics, stretching, and a lot of things that are way more important than just, putting on muscle.
Looking at the pictures, Brandon Shields, you seem pretty fit. Are you skipping leg day?
Yeah, right now, definitely.
Don't skip leg day. Legs are important. That's your base. You need to have legs. Now I know a lot of guys go into the gym and it's chest and arms, and they forget about leg day.
Oh yeah, definitely. Can't forget. It is important. It is important.
Don't forget leg day. All right. Any other activities you're into? All right. In school, you were the footballer. You played the foosball. Did you do any other sports or any other activities of note, extracurriculars?
Not really. Very mono right there, like when it comes to doing that. So yeah, my entire life, I actually, loved football ever since, 3 or 4 years old. And at one point when I was like 5 or 6, I actually was like, oh, I want to do this. But, obviously with genetics and other things and interests, that didn't happen. But, and actually I believe this environment of living in Tuscaloosa, where the whole religion of Tuscaloosa is Alabama football. So I believe that all that encompasses on that interest right there. So, yeah.
Yeah, you answer my questions way before I asked them. You live in Tuscaloosa. It's the football, man. You got to eat, sleep, and breathe it. And the Crimson Tide, roll Tide, roll. And this is from somebody who's sitting right here in Conway, Arkansas. Still a member of the SEC. And not really into sports. I'm not. I'll full disclosure. I worked on a sports station in Little Rock, Arkansas, and I worked with a bunch of athletes from the Arkansas Razorbacks, and I didn't know a lot about sports when I started there. But a year later, I got a little bit into it, but mostly I played music and produced the shows for them, and working the board, if you will. But
Yeah.
so living, yeah, and we talked a lot about Alabama, and they were always the toughest team to beat in the SEC. Are you really into sports, or what's your interests in that?
Yeah, like football definitely. I like watching. I like watching a lot of stuff at the end of the road, like NBA. I'll only watch the NBA really in the playoffs, World Series. I'm not too into soccer or baseball, perhaps, but contact sports. I like watching contact sports.
I got you. Now, Alabama doesn't have an NFL team, but you are heading for Boca Raton, home of my Miami Dolphins. And I always hope that one year they'll get back to where they were, their faded glory. 1972, they had an undefeated season with Don Shula and Bob Greasy. Why do I know that? Because it was 1972, and I was living in Miami, and it was an undefeated season. And ever since then, they've just steadily gone downhill, it appears. I mean, Dan Marino, no doubt, was a fantastic quarterback in the NFL, and the only reason I'm bringing it up because you're heading that way, man. That's going to be your team.
My team's Green Bay Packers.
He said no. He said no. He's staying up here. He's staying.
Green Bay.
He's staying in Green Bay. Come on, man. You're living in Miami. You're going to be heading that way. South Florida, the sand, the sun, the girls. Okay. just you could pretty much be shirtless all the time and just tan. One of the things I miss about living in Miami was definitely, you were right, being health conscious and being in shape and fit, and the sun, just worshiping the sun, really, for lack of a better term. If you ever get from Boca Raton, if you ever head down to Key West, there is a sunset celebration every single night in Key West, where you're staring out over the water. Hey, what are you guys doing? We're looking at the sunset. Why? Because the sun's setting. Yeah. It's interesting. The people of South Florida, and Boca's a little different. It's how much time have you spent in Boca up to now?
Up to now, probably 4 days.
4 days. So I'm guessing that's where Tanner is at.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so you're heading down there for business purposes. That's a good reason to go to Florida. Do I wish I was back there? I know my mom and my grandma are still in the Florida Keys and Key Largo, and for a lot of times they'll say, "Come on home, son. Come on home," because you could do this radio thing from anywhere. This DJ thing anywhere, no problem. It's like, but yeah, I'm here. I've set roots in Arkansas, and yeah, like they said, I can do it from anywhere. I'm talking to my man Brandon Shields out there in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, from Conway, Arkansas. And the internet is a wonderful thing. Telephones are a wonderful thing. Podcasting is a nice way to bring people together, because I hardly ever get to converse with people in real life because they're always looking down at their phones. Have you found that in your experience, Brandon Shields?
Have I found exactly what?
Do you get to have conversations with people when you're say you go to lunch, go to the local coffee shop, and you want to strike up a conversation with the guy next to you, but he's looking at his phone?
What I've experienced with that is the more comfortable that you are with that person, in terms of being around them, the more that they will, put their attention on outside things besides conversation, unless it's important, like, having a phone in front of you or something like that. But what I've noticed is in inciting conversation of, like, with someone new, or if it's a meeting, or if it's, you're talking to someone that you're usually not around, conversation is like the main focus, is what just through my experience, conversation is the main focus. But I believe the more you're around that person, the more comfortable you are, not having to have a conversation going or have, like, subject matter going. I believe, the phone or any distraction will be the main course of their attention.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of business people head for meetings, with their suits and ties on, and they'll stack all their phones in the middle of the table, and the first one to touch it pays the bill.
Yeah.
I've heard that. So you have your own podcast. I mean, you're hanging out with me on the What Makes You Famous podcast, Brandon Shields. Thank you so much for doing this, by the way. I appreciate it. I'm having a good conversation so far, learning more about you and what you're doing. Well, tell me more about what the web project does.
Yeah, so actually it was a concept last year that I came up with. Well, it was kind of be a humanitarian type of thing, or like a philanthropic type of communication channel, where I was trying to, bring a lot of people from all walks of life together in terms of mindset, communication, and information. Because, what I saw was, when it comes to arguments, when it comes to like people not getting along, the common theme I continue to saw was either misinformation, which is, not the correct information, or miscommunication, which that information wasn't communicated correctly. So, with all the different types of people in the world that have the different views, mindsets, etc., there's a lot of commonality rather than differences. So the whole point of the podcast is to show the relevance factor in several different walks of life. So what I try to do is I try to bring on as many people as possible that are not just, the billionaire type of people, where there's people in all types of progress, where maybe someone that's just starting a business, maybe someone's been in the business for 10 years, maybe there's somebody in college, maybe there's someone, from a different country that's trying something different. So I've done, at the very beginning, where I'm at now with the web project, I've introduced a lot of people that are in the entrepreneurial field, because that's my circle. So what I'm going to be doing eventually in the future is actually bringing people that are not just entrepreneurs, but regular people, and then people that have different types of ways to look at things. Not politicizing it, but actually bringing information or value from their information to a relevant factor, to where everybody can take a piece of it, because the best way to learn is from someone from experience. So that's what I'm going to try to do, is get people with a lot of different experiences.
You know what, Brandon Shields, you're kind of likening me to I've been listening to a podcast. Well, I listened to it. I think it's done, and he's starting something new. Adam Ruins Everything. Have you ever heard of that?
Adam Ruins Everything. Yes, I watched a lot of those videos.
Yeah, the reason I like him, he kind of looks at things from a different perspective, and he tries to get the truth out of things. And this seems like what you're doing, but for business, where you're trying to get people that are experts in these certain fields, and perhaps maybe you don't know all the information about this, but you'll find somebody who knows a little bit more, and hopefully bring to light certain things. Is this am I grasping this correctly?
Yes, there's a small selfish matter in it where I'm learning too, but the whole point of it is to bring, like you said, people with other levels of experience of, different fields. So yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm picking your brain. Here I am, a 50-year-old man, and I'm learning from a 20-year-old man, 21-year-old man. How about that? So 21, wait, that's an interesting year. When you turn 21, did you go to the bar for the first time?
Actually, I didn't. Believe it or not. No, I didn't.
Yeah, I think when I was 21, I was a firefighter, and I had a half a beer one time. There was a firefighting party, and they were playing quarters, and I had a half a beer, and by the time it came back around, I was passed out. So that was the first and last time I ever had alcohol. Not that I'm against it. I work in bars all the time, doing the DJ thing, work in bars all the time. But yeah, 21 is like a breakout year. A lot of times kids will say, yeah, I'm 21. I'm going to the club. Is that something that you get into, or?
Very introverted when it comes to that type of thing. I'm very outgoing when it comes to business, and fun stuff like that. And that's fun to me. But like, on a bar scene type of atmosphere, I'm very introverted on doing stuff like that, just because I just don't get as much out of it as doing other fun activities.
So how's the social life, Brandon Shields? What do you do for fun?
Well, definitely when it comes to doing fun activities for me, what I like to do a lot is actually have a lot more personable, small circle type of like going like I told you before, like going out doing stuff outdoors, or going to the movies with friends, or going out to eat, going traveling. I love traveling. Going to actually do a lot of different things in like indoors types of activities. But the biggest thing, I just never got wrapped up into the culture of just, going out, getting drunk, and just, because first off, there's consequences of doing that, and it's expensive. It's not a lifestyle you can actually continue to run with if you're trying to do a lot of business, and it's just wasn't for me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I like to keep in touch with my faculties. I like to keep in tune. Now, you say you traveled a lot. Any place of interest? Where have you gone?
Now, I like to travel a lot. I haven't traveled too much, but the furthest place I've ever been was Canada. But what I actually love going is, I've been a lot of times up to the north of Washington D.C., Pennsylvania, out west a little bit. I actually went to Arkansas actually a month ago or 2 months ago.
You didn't come say hi.
Yeah, I went to Searcy. Have you been to Searcy before?
Been to Searcy. That's about an hour away from me. Yep.
Yeah, and
what did you do in Searcy?
Oh, well, now it doesn't sound too fun. I worked.
Hey, that sounds fun. It's like a working vacation, I suppose.
Yes.
So most of these trips have been for work?
Oh, well, not entirely for work. Sometimes it was kind of a vacation. The terms a lot of times I even go to, like, there's 4 hours away is Atlanta, 8 hours away is Orlando. Love just the experience factor. Like I told you before, Alabama is very simplistic when it comes to a lot of different things you'd like to do for fun. So, of course, places like Atlanta or Orlando, or the beach, which are Gulf Shores, Orange Beach, Panama City, and the Panhandle of Florida. So much more things to do and just more experience. So that's what excites me about traveling.
You like
so in the future, I plan to do a little bit more when it comes to. I'd love to go global on traveling because places like Australia, places like West Africa, or places like European, like Balkan states. A lot of those places that were just amazing to go there because there's so much different, like, outward experiences that you could have.
That would seem so. I haven't been north of the Mason-Dixon, and I am putting a country drawl on here. I haven't been north of the Mason-Dixon all that much.
Yeah.
I stay to the southern states, but I have been out west to California. Do you like to drive or fly?
Oh, well, I particularly would love to fly anywhere that's more than 8 hours away. But believe it or not, when I went to it's actually Boca. I actually went there a month ago. I drove all the way. I started driving like at 9 p.m. I actually stayed in Tampa for a little bit, and then I just drove from Tampa straight to Boca. So it was a straight shot of like all day driving, and then of course coming back pretty much all day driving. So actually,
by yourself?
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yes, it's crazy. Driving from, like, one thing to know, I'm not someone that actually hates driving because driving for me is not too much work. It's very meditative. So, like, it's very, like, it's kind of like in that, if you get into a flow state, that's what I feel like when I'm in driving. That's very, very good to, like, just stay on, like, cruise, put on a podcast, put on music, just think through all the different problems, think through all the different ideas, and just brainstorm and meditate.
I drive quite a bit throughout the week, and particularly on Saturdays when I'm heading for a wedding that's hours away, and I do put on a podcast myself. So I spent about 2 or 3 days listening to your web project, 15 episodes, and that was pretty good. They're bite size and they're very informative. I appreciate that you put them out there. It's nice. I encourage everyone. I listen to Joe Rogan, and he encourages everyone to start a podcast. And I think if if everyone has a story, everyone can start a podcast. If you have an interest, you could start a podcast about it. I encourage you as well. So, yeah, are you making more episodes of the web project on the daily or the weekly?
Yeah, actually, I have 3 already scheduled, ready to go. One's probably posted an hour or so ago. Tomorrow, another one will go, and then another one will go on the next day. So I'll actually be like a week absent from doing any more episodes just because I'll be moving. But starting next week, hitting the ground running again, doing more and more episodes of more interviews and talking with different people.
Yeah. I guess I don't know if I'm a good podcaster or a bad podcaster. I did 2 podcasts yesterday. One for a fiesta. I kind of compiled I had an event called the Brookside Fiesta, and it was a benefit for these people that have lost their lease at the Brookside trailer park in Conway, Arkansas. So I compiled a bunch of short little interviews together into one episode. And then later on that evening, I spoke to a photographer named Allison Sylvie, and I made her podcast. Now, I noticed you said you had them already in the can, and then you release them, the next day and the next day. I just released them both yesterday. What's the best way to do that, Mr. Podcaster?
Well, I don't do it on. Well, I believe it's kind of. Well, what I do with my podcast, I align it. What I've aligned is that Instagram channel that you contact me through web project. I align it with that because I do recognize that podcasting is kind of like YouTube. You push something out, something will click, and something might go, get a lot of views, get a lot of listens. And it really doesn't really matter when it comes to if there's no feed, right? There's no life. There's the lifetime of a podcast is pretty much forever, rather than an Instagram post, which is 6 hours. So what I do is actually align it with my Instagram. So what I would do is I'm building an audience through Instagram and converting that into listeners. So that's what I'm doing in terms of posting my episodes. It's kind of one per day. So I kind of control the Instagram environment that way.
You're teaching me how to be a better podcaster, and you're teaching the people of the world to be a better podcaster, Mr. Brandon Shields. Only 21. Got lots of experience already. Man, have you had any Joe jobs growing up?
Joe jobs?
Yeah, like working at a fast food restaurant or any work experience outside of the media field?
Yeah. So I worked at, my first job was actually at McDonald's. I only worked there a week.
I'm a KFC boy myself.
So I worked at McDonald's first, and then from there, I actually went and I worked and I watched. What I did is I did a little bit more labor-induced, which was I was washing buses for the city. I did that for about 2 years.
Yeah.
Going from there, I did a lot of things with, there's a party rental. I worked at a party rental place where I actually, the blow-up rentals, the bounce houses and all that.
Cool. Yeah, I work well with them.
I was setting up all that stuff. And then from there, I went to the field, the medical field, and I worked as a physical therapy assistant. So that's 4 jobs. So I've had 4, real jobs.
I probably could have asked you this earlier because the medical field, did that send you into the medicine? Maybe put that bug in your head where maybe you might, but then school said, nah.
It was kind of funny because I actually quit that job, and it was kind of funny because I actually was doing that job in the same transition in my mind of where, hey, I don't want to get into this field, and I don't think it was that job particularly that turned me off, rather than the schooling, the long-term value of doing this. But what was happening is I started my digital agency while working at that job. So, I would check my phone here and there throughout the day, not really caring about, the day-to-day activities at the job as much as what's going on my phone. So, yeah, so it was really interesting at the end of that period.
Yeah, if you could turn your love into a career, do it. I encourage you. Follow your dreams. You might fall, but however many times you pick yourself back up, that's the winner right there. So, Brandon Shields, you're okay. So, yeah, and I'm with you on that. I would be DJing every weekend, no matter what job I had during the day. I would still be DJing at night. So, Brandon Shields, any other interests as we, I guess we can kind of wrap this thing up. I've learned a lot about Brandon Shields and what's going on in your life and how you're helping people around the globe with your web project and your Tanner. Was it the full thing is Tanner what?
Tanner Consulting.
Tanner Consulting. Now, what is Tanner Consulting? Well, we've kind of covered what that is, but what else do you have in your life, Brandon Shields, that you care to share?
So I don't want to overwhelm anything here, but so the things that we talked about, those two entities of Tanner Consulting, which is the digital marketing consulting, and then the web project, those are just two entities. I actually have three more that I work on day-to-day too. So I actually manage, first off, I manage talent. So what we do is, what I actually do myself is I actually manage people on apps called, have you ever heard of TikTok?
I've heard of TikTok.
Yes. So actually, I'm the strategist for them and help them succeed on, social media. That's something I do. I also
no. Let's back up there. You work for TikTok, or you just kind of help people with their videos?
So I'm basically a consultant strategist for creators, so people that are very entertaining. Like I work with two comedians and a artist right now.
Well, that's pretty cool.
So for those three people, they're all under the age of 25 like me, but they haven't had that experience, knowledge, and expertise of the digital marketing side of things. So they're very talented, but they don't have someone to steer their vehicle of talent. So what happens is I actually come in and I actually give them a blueprint, understand the complexity of the field, and show them how to route for the most efficient success they can get. And it turns out that they can actually do a lot more than what they were doing before. So, yeah, that's that.
Well, put them on Front Street because I like TikTok. Tell the people who are these people that you're representing.
So one of them I cannot tell you one of them, but the other two, one is called Tori Frost. She's the artist. I believe she's right at about 125,000 on that app, and the other one is Mitch. Mitch I've worked with the longest. He's approaching, I believe he's approaching 200. I'd have to check because he grows like crazy. He's probably approaching close to 250,000, 300,000, something like that on the app.
Now the TikTok app is it's very entertaining. It's fun. Sometimes it gets a little chipmunky, but I know the kids love it. It's little sound bites, bite size. It's what Vine used to be, except better. I think TikTok, is that something that you can make money on?
It's a platform of influence rather than money. What you can do is you can get donations, which like through kind of like Twitch in a sense of like if you go live.
Sure.
The only way you can make money on TikTok is converting people to another platform that makes money and monetizes, or you can go live and people just donate money. So like some of my people, they'll make like $25 to $60 in a 1 hour live session of Q&A. So for those people that are for people that are, that's making $30 an hour just like getting on the phone, that's fun.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. And you were just having a good time, just bringing something that you thought about into the world, and they liked it, and they gave you a couple bucks. That sounds great. That's a nice facet of what you're doing, Brandon Shields. And you got more. No, don't stop, Brandon Shields. He's got more. Tell the people.
Two more. Yeah, one that I'm not going to get into too much just because there's a lot of NDA stuff because of the fun stuff that goes into it, but it's environmental. So it's called the R Company. I just started the socials for that a couple of weeks ago. But what our company is first off, is a concept. It's a concept of renewable energy, recyclable, from all the different types of garbage that we throw away. So what it is actually a concept of actually entering the field of American consumerism. Like, for example, all the landfills. And here's a fun fact. Only 2% of the garbage that we throw away is recycled. But there's 98% that is available to be recycled that we don't touch. So the concept of the company actually is to actually make efficient recycling, incentivizing a lot of different things when it comes to power, water, and renewable energy. So I can't get into it too much, but pretty much what I have going there is an environmental concept company, which is consulting / idea driven.
Wow, the R Project. Brandon Shields saves the world.
So yeah, that's the R company, and the last one, which is pretty much my favorite thing going right now.
Hit me.
It's called American Entertainment.
Okay, you got me. I'm hooked.
Okay, American Entertainment is actually a company that has. It's first off, it is a concept driven, and now it's concept proven. But what it actually is, it's a videography, photography, graphic design, video editing company that's continent wide. So what I did is I actually put the emphasis of contracting. So if you're doing a wedding, for example, and you need a videographer, usually first off you're going to go through friends and family, or then you're going to, research how to find it, blah, 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 and you're going to hire somebody and do that. If you're a marketing company, and you need, say you need to do a commercial for an advertisement, well, you're going to do the same type of job searching when it comes to finding that candidate, doing the same thing. So what I did is actually I hired contractors on behalf of American Entertainment that are proven qualitative people that can produce, that can record, that can shoot, all in great quality and ethics and standards. And now, on behalf of American Entertainment, if you're say you're a company in Miami,
sure.
Say you're a marketing company in Miami. Well, you spoke 30 minutes ago about with what you do, you can do it wherever, right?
Right.
So, for example, if that Miami company has a client now in Seattle, it's going to be very hard for them to do an in-house shoot for that Seattle business. They're going to either put someone on a plane to go out there, or try to make some groundwork in Seattle to find that. Well, through American Entertainment, we actually have the goal, and we're getting very close to it, is to actually have creators in every major area of the United States, like within at least 100 miles of every major city. So with that, you're actually able to hire through us and complete the task. So it's kind of like a photography, videography, contracting company, which is B2C, which you can hire for, which means pretty much like you're hiring for like a job, like a wedding, sure, or a graduation, or simplistic stuff, or hardcore B2B, which is advertising, big shoots, etc.
That sounds great, Brandon Shields, American Entertainment. Now, I know that there's a lot of websites that offer that type of service to brides and grooms and party planners of all kinds, where they can go in and one-stop shop and pick out their DJ and their bartender and their photographer, videographer, their limousine service, what have you, a magician, even for whatever entertainment they need. Is this the kind of service that you're going to be offering as well?
It's only creative. It's strictly creative, and the biggest reason why it's actually competitive in the market is because what we do is that we actually take the process of you getting to know the creator, making it smooth. There's actually going to be an app coming out soon to where that will actually be a very smooth process, to where if you hire somebody, for example, for your wedding, you'll actually be in communication through them, not through any other means, but through our app. And the process of receiving the edits, receiving, the proofs, and all that stuff will be all included. So the whole point of it is to actually drive down the competitive pricing, and we're not going to be charging, 10x what the actual like industry is, and then moving towards, a more unified type of system, because we have in-house editors, we have in-house designers, so everything is within one. So you're dealing with a company, not through like several different people. You're not going to be talking to 6 people. You'll be talking through one line of communication, so it's as convenient as possible for you.
I know when I call a company, I'd like to talk to a real person, and I don't know if it's preferred that that person be local in my town or in my state or even in my country, but yeah, as long as they speak English, that sounds fine, and as long as I can talk to somebody and not a robot, hopefully, and I know I can't predict the future, but it's coming. I know they're all going to be robots. They're all going to be AI that you just can't distinct from a real person. What do you think about that trend?
Well, first off, AI is going to take thousands, not even thousands, it's going to take millions of jobs. So what we're going to have to do with AI, eventually, we're just going to have to accept that it's kind of like it's coming. First off, it's coming. There's no stopping the AI. And with the integrations of the AI through communication, social media, and more, you're going to start to see AI companies start to come up where, the driving force of the marketing is AI. And that's the scary thing. A lot of people don't talk about marketing in AI. They talk a lot about, functionality AI, but if you can give the components of how to run a marketing campaign through social media to a computer, an AI, well, now they're going to maximize efficiency of reaching people. So whatever on the back end of that company is going to be the thing to be reckoned with. So, like, for example, Apple did that, and they have marketing AI that integrates with Facebook advertising. Well, now you're going to start seeing Apple products like 100 times more than you were, because there's nothing better than AI. There's nothing better than a computer. So I think, AI is something to be reckoned with. And when it comes to regulating it in the future, there's going to be a lot of backlash, but it's going to be interesting.
Oh, it's coming. It's coming. I even know a lot of big companies that, for example, like big radio companies, they all want to be automated. And a lot of DJs have lost their jobs. And I think the recent hashtag was learn to code for the coal miners and that are losing their jobs, and the steel workers that are losing their jobs. And it was a big bad buzz for the hashtag learn to code. Have you heard of that one?
Yes, I actually have. It's I don't like it because first off, it's not going to be even realistic to have someone that's been in the industry of mining or truck driving or whatever for 15, 20, 30 years. They're just going to flip the switch. And learning doesn't work that way. Learning is progressively because you want to, not because you have to. That's why so many people that don't like school aren't good at it. So when it comes to like learn to code, people that have a general interest in that field of study are going to be the ones good at it. And in a capitalist type of economy, only good people will surge to the top and actually have jobs. So what I actually would tell these people to do with job markets being replaced is fall back on what you like to do. Don't go back into the ignorance of, I like doing the job that's being taken away. Huh. Test, experiment, actually. And with the ability of Google, YouTube, podcasts, everything right now, you can put your fingers on every single type of industry that's out there, emerging industries and more. So if you create an entity, like you literally can make money doing a podcast. You can make money doing YouTube videos on. So like if you were like a truck driver, but you're really good at mechanics, like you're good at like truck mechanics. Well, what I urge you to do in that example is start a YouTube channel, make yourself a brand, put out podcasts about different strategies of fixing things, put out YouTube content, Instagram content, Facebook content. And then with that brand, you are going to have such an audience that when these big machines that are replacing you, for example, like in the trucking industry, automated trucking is going to be a thing, self-driving, 18-wheelers and other fun things like that. Well, what if you actually, instead of like you actually go against the grain and you actually start a brand to where you're actually able to talk about, hey, we have a automated truck here in the shop today. This is how you fix this. And now bigger companies are looking at you that actually have these automated trucks, and now they hire you into their engineer team. So when it comes to opportunities, you can't sit around and think. You have to just go out there and test stuff and experiment. And that's actually how you get momentum and get stuff going. So that's my idea on that.
Yeah, so it's not hashtag learn to code. It's hashtag find an interest and expound on that interest. Boy, that hashtag's a little long. Yeah, I think we need to cut that one down.
Yeah, you just got to go do stuff, because people look at things like in a binary way of like, you got to do it this way or that way. But no, you got so many different choices and options. It's unbelievable.
Oh, yeah. If you don't like your job, don't be in that job, because there's no sense being miserable, really. Yes, you have responsibilities. Maybe you have a family. You're taking care of some kids, wife. But, there's always something else. And you can always gradually head into that something else, because you were doing Joe jobs even at your young age. And you were still thinking about what you're doing now and where you're heading now. You were thinking about what's going on with your marketing. And even though you had a responsibility to be at another job, and you got that job done, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, definitely. And the biggest thing I was going to say is, the biggest thing when it comes to opportunity has no plan. That's a good quote. Now, when it comes to finding your means of doing whatever, you're going to have responsibilities and you're going to have to pay your dues, but you just need to figure out a route to what you want to do, and you just got to go do it. Because one of my favorite people I listen to, Gary Vaynerchuk. Have you heard of Gary Vaynerchuk?
No, I haven't.
He's a great person to look up. He's really intuitive on practicality and stuff like what I've been talking about. Like if you work an 8-hour job, right? You wake up at 7, you go to work, you work the 9 to 5. Well, what are you doing between 5 p.m., actually, let's say you get home at 6, or what are you doing from 6 p.m. to 12 a.m.? What are you doing? You have family time, of course. If you're not in a family, you don't. If you actually think about the time that you're wasting doing Netflix, doing recreation, or whatever, you're actually putting yourself in a place of excuses. But if you actually put your ideas into place and start working on this dream business or whatever you want to do, and you don't waste a minute, because you're not getting any younger. The actual fun part is you can find hours every day that you can put progress in, and if you can only make an hour a day of progress, well, you need to do it, and you don't need to say I'm tired, because the market doesn't care that you're tired. No one cares that you're tired. You just got to do it, and then that's a story that you write when you're 75. You write that story that you were tired and you still did it. That's when you say you're tired in your prologue. But don't worry about don't worry about the responsibilities of being an excuse, because everybody has responsibilities.
Yeah, I just looked up Gary Vaynerchuk, and he was a wine critic and became a digital marketing and social media guy, and is worth $160 million. So, yeah, you could start off as a wine critic and work your way out from there. you don't have to stay a wine critic.
He's got a really interesting story. He actually was part of the negotiations of Reagan in the 1980s to move Russian immigrants over to the United States. He come from Belarus, which was a city-state of Russia in the time of the USSR.
Right.
But what happens is he was an immigrant. He started from nothing. His father started one wine store. He actually used practicality, looked around, saw what's going to work, took opportunity, turned that wine store from a $3 million to a $60 million industry, a store within a couple years. First off, 3 to 60 million. Changing something from 3 to 60 million is amazing.
Not too shabby at all. No.
Not at all. And then using that practicality and mindset to start his own business, which is VaynerMedia, was, he took opportunity. He saw something happening in the social media sphere, and he just went after it. But the biggest thing I can say about opportunity, a lot of people get it mixed up with like seeing every single shiny object. You cannot do that where every time you see something that someone looks like they're making money in, you don't run to it. You run to what makes you happy, what you feel good at doing, what interests you. So like, if you're just in it for the wrong reasons, like if, for example, if I've seen so many digital marketers just run to cryptocurrency,
Right.
not because they're really good at coding, they love economic, other fun stuff like finance, because they saw someone make $1,500 in an hour doing it.
Correct.
That's why they did it.
Yeah.
So yeah, people have to just go to what they're good at and run to what they like.
Yeah, I'm pretty intimidated by cryptocurrency. I don't know what it is, and I don't know where it's from, and I don't know who's backing it up. So, yeah, it frightens me. It scares me just a little bit. But you were talking about Gary Vaynerchuk, and yeah, don't copy what he did. Just take inspiration from what he does. You see what he did, where he came from, and be inspired by that type of situation, which Brandon Shields, I'm sure you were inspired by him and probably many others in growing your business and getting ideas and putting yourself out there. So has anything shown a return yet? Have you gotten a bite where, hey, I think this thing's going to take off?
Oh yeah, definitely. I would be moving to South Florida if not the whole fun part of what I'm doing. That's all. That I mean, it took a second to click on terms of return, but when it did, it all like grounded up, and you go all in on it, because the stuff that people I've listened to with the practicality, with what Gary said, and a lot of other people I've listened to, it's about doubling down on your strengths, not trying to focus on your weaknesses. Because one of the things that he says that I love, he's I think he's like 5'6", 5'7", 5'8", something like that. Well, he's not good at basketball genetically already, so why would he try to go into do basketball every single day to be good at something that he's inevitably not going to be the top tier at? Because if you have ambitions to be a top tier guy, you need to go into what's going to give you the best opportunity to do so. So that's exactly what I did, and returns have come because of that.
Yeah. I guess the very light thing. These immigrants are coming in and taking our jobs. No, he's doing a good job. I'm very happy that he's here in this country doing the good work that he's doing. And Brandon, I'm glad you're here in this country. I know you were born in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and you came from a good family, it seems. That you had any brothers, sisters?
I do have a sister. She's actually 13 years older than me, so it's a bit of a separation. But yeah, I have one sibling. Yeah,
what'd she do?
She's actually a teacher, primary school.
I like teachers. That's excellent. Teach the world. Teach them how to do everything. And so, what does she think of your endeavors?
Well, at the first part, of course, same as my other family, where it's kind of confusion and stuff like that. Because, but yeah, definitely supportive. Definitely supportive now. And she actually runs her own. She has entrepreneurial tendencies as well. She runs have you ever heard of monogramming? I know what a monogram is. Sure, like stitching stuff on your shirt. Yeah. So she actually owns a monogramming little company for herself, and she actually does that. And I teach her here and there, and I help her on doing her business as well, doing that. So definitely supportive. There was a program in the 70s called Laverne and Shirley, and Laverne always had L's monogrammed on her shirt. Does your sister have monograms on her shirts? The shirt. Yeah. That's exactly what she does all the time. That's great. That's great, Brandon Shields, my man. Excellent. We boys now. We've spent over an hour chit chatting about life and how to grow your business. Tell the people how to get a hold of you, Brandon Shields of the Web Project and beyond. Yeah, definitely. The best way to reach me if you want to contact me is going to be through Instagram, b.shields with 2 S's at the end. That's Instagram. You can search up the Web Project on Apple Podcasts or wherever if you want to listen to some of the episodes I got going. But the best way to get in contact with me if you want to is just DM me straight from Instagram. Yeah.
And Brandon Shields got 15 episodes out there as of now. It's the Memorial Day weekend, 2019. Thank you so much for listening to Brandon Shields. Any other good pieces of info for the people?
I don't have anything else, but I would just say, just do what makes you happy, and that's all that matters.
Excellent. Thank you, Brandon Shields. Make sure you send me those links to your various projects, and I'll put them in the show notes. Make sure the people know how to get a hold of Brandon Shields. And Brandon Shields, off to Boca. It's excellent, man. There's no surfing in Boca. I think I tried to surf in Sebastian one time, and it was probably about waist high. So, yeah. There's good body surfing. That's a lot of fun. I think you have fun in the sun, the ocean. And Boca's nice, man. And it's a different class of people. People, even if they're poor, they want to be rich. They want that lifestyle, that wealthy lifestyle for the most part in Boca and everywhere in the West Palm Beach area. I grew up in Fort Lauderdale. I went to high school there, and that's pretty close. It's pretty close.
Yeah.
But Boca, as soon as you hit the West Palm Beach county, it starts to get a little ritzier. You'll see a lot more Mercedes and BMWs and Lexus and nothing less, baby.
Yeah,
I used to drive around in my little beater, and I said, nope, I need to get a better car. So I bought a Mustang, have to have a new car when you're driving around Boca. But no, ever forward, Brandon Shields, man, you're going to have a good drive. And I guess this is happening pretty quick, the way you were saying. Is that what's going on?
Very spontaneous, so that's the way I like it. I'm very spontaneous, have a personality. So I just like when I was going there last month, I actually I was my business associate was like, hey, whenever you want to, you can come out here 1 week, and I was like, well, I'm spontaneous. I'm packing up right now, so I left like 8 hours later. So I'm very I just do stuff because I don't like waiting.
Yeah, my baby brother was living in Orlando, 5 hours away from Miami, and one weekend I said, "Hey, I'm moving in with you for a couple weeks." So I packed up the car, drove to Orlando, and lived there for about a year. Had my own apartment there, and so yeah, I'm all about spontaneity, especially in your 20s. When you're in your 20s, try things, man. Do it. Fall on your face. Get back up. Do it again. Yes, until you get it right. And you're going to do just fine, Brandon Shields. Sounds like the buzzword is entrepreneur. And I always just liken that. It used to be just called a hardworking man. That's what you do.
Yeah.
You're a hardworking man, Brandon Shields. Thanks for chit-chatting with me.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity to come on here and talk.
Thank you, Brandon Shields. And I will put this up probably in the next hour or so. Thank you.
Awesome. I appreciate it, man.
Well, there you have it, party people. It's Brandon Shields, a young man of the world, got his fingers in many, many areas of marketing and web integration and the entertainment thing. That kind of blew me away, where he's representing entertainers on the various platforms, especially TikTok, and he's also putting people together with creators and creative people. So, yeah, excellent, Brandon Shields. Never stop thinking, never stop building, never stop growing. Thank you for being on the What Makes You Famous program, Brandon Shields of the Web Project podcast. That's it for this episode of the What Makes You Famous podcast. If you'd like to tell your story, give me a call at 501-470-6386 or email info@radiowhat.com. Thank you so much for listening. It's Keys Dan with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.
Radio What, the music you want. Hey guys, this is Shelly G with a fast fact. TV Star Trek's Captain James T. Kirk's middle name is Tiberius. Do you have a fast fact? Share it with us at Interactive Radio, RadioWhat.com.
Tweet, yo. Follow Radio What on Twitter. @Radio What Tweet, yo.